A family of wool merchants in Florence built the most powerful bank in Europe. Then, they used it to buy 3 popes, half the Renaissance, and a city that pretended it was still a republic. They never wore a crown. They didn't need one. This is Libromastro, history's accounts. Every empire kept a ledger. We open them. In 1397, a man named Giovanni di Bicci de' Medici opened a bank in Florence. Florence was not a kingdom, it was a merchant republic, run by guilds, with no king and no hereditary nobility. The man with the most money and the most allies ran things, quietly. Giovanni understood this perfectly. He had learned the trade working for a relative in Rome: currency exchange, letters of credit, deposits, and loans. So he opened 2 branches, one in Florence, one in Rome. Rome, because Rome was where the church was, and the church was where the money was. The church collected revenue from across Europe, tithes, fees, indulgences, and needed to move it across borders without shipping gold. It needed to lend, to finance, to pay an army of clergy. Giovanni made the Medici the church's preferred financial partner. That one decision defined the next 100 years. The relationship between the Medici and the papacy was the foundation of the whole empire. The Medici Bank became the official bank of the Holy See. Here's how the money actually flowed. The church appointed the Medici as its depositary, so every papal revenue collected across Europe was funneled through Medici branches. England paid its dues to Rome through the Medici, France through the Medici, Germany, Spain, the Low Countries, all through the Medici. And the Medici didn't just hold that money, they lent it out, at interest, to kings and merchants, while the deposits sat in their accounts. The church's money was the Medici's working capital. In exchange, the Medici paid the church a percentage and gave it something no one else could: reliable transfer of funds across every major city in Europe. It was, in modern terms, a private central bank for the Catholic Church. Giovanni's son Cosimo inherited the bank in 1429. By 1434, he ran Florence itself and turned a successful bank into a continental empire. At its peak, the Medici Bank had branches in Florence, Rome, Venice, Milan, Geneva, Lyon, Bruges, and London. Each branch was a separate partnership. Cosimo held the majority, a local manager held a minority, and losses were contained to that one branch. In structure, it was close to what we'd now call a franchise. The branches didn't just move money, they moved wool, silk, and alum, the mineral you needed to dye cloth, which the Medici controlled from their own mines. Banking and trade were inseparable. But Cosimo understood something his father had only sensed. Political power had to be cultivated constantly, and it had to look legitimate. So he commissioned buildings, funded libraries, paid for the Church of San Lorenzo and the convent of San Marco. He was never head of state. Officially, he was a private citizen. But when the city needed a decision, they came to him. Cosimo's grandson, Lorenzo the Magnificent, inherited the bank in 1469 at 20 years old. He was genuinely exceptional. A poet, a diplomat who could negotiate with popes and kings in the same week. He wrote verse still studied today. He also nearly destroyed the bank. Lorenzo cared about politics and culture, not the mechanics of finance. He left banking to managers who were, in several cases, incompetent or dishonest. The London branch lent heavily to the English crown and was never repaid. Bruges collapsed. Rome was mismanaged for years before anyone noticed. And Lorenzo used the bank as a personal treasury for Florentine statecraft. Loans to allies, gifts to ambassadors, mercenary armies. political decisions made with depositors' money. By the time he died in 1492, the Medici Bank was insolvent in several branches. The cultural legacy was magnificent. The balance sheet was a disaster. No story of the Medici is complete without April 26, 1478. The Pazzi were Florentine bankers, rivals of the Medici, allies of a pope who wanted the Medici gone. So they made a plan: kill Lorenzo and his brother Giuliano at the same moment, during High Mass in the Florence Cathedral, and seize the city in the chaos. Giuliano was stabbed 19 times. He died on the cathedral floor. Lorenzo was wounded but escaped into the sacristy, and within hours, the conspiracy collapsed. The city did not rise against the Medici. It rose for them. The plotters were hunted through the streets. Within days, 80 people had been executed, many hanged from the windows of the town hall. The attack cemented something. The Medici were no longer just bankers who happened to be powerful. They were the institution of Florence. Attacking them meant attacking the city itself. And that loyalty was worth more to them than gold. It had kept the family alive when the swords came out. After Lorenzo, the Medici were expelled from Florence, came back, were expelled again, and finally returned for good, this time as hereditary rulers. Giovanni had opened a two-branch bank in 1397. Within 4 generations, his heirs wore the papal crown. Between 1513 and 1534, 2 Medici became pope. Leo X, Lorenzo's son, was elected in 1513 at 37. On his election, he reportedly said, "God has given us the papacy. Let us enjoy it." He did. He was a lavish patron and a catastrophic financial manager. His papacy spent money the church didn't have, and the need for revenue fed directly into the aggressive sale of indulgences that triggered Martin Luther in 1517. The Protestant Reformation has many causes. One of them is a Medici pope who needed cash. Clement VII came next. His papacy ended with the sack of Rome in 1527, when unpaid troops looted the city for 3 days. The Medici had gone from running the church's bank to running the church, with the same mix of brilliance and overreach that defined every generation of the family. The Medici Bank formally collapsed in 1494 when a French invasion drove the family out of Florence. The institution was gone. What stayed was everything they had bought with it: Botticelli, Donatello, Michelangelo, who lived in the Medici household as a teenager and ate at Lorenzo's table; Leonardo, who moved in the Medici circle before Lorenzo sent him to the court of Milan; San Lorenzo, the convent of San Marco, the Laurentian library, the Uffizi, originally built as Medici offices. And if that sounds like ancient history, walk through any great museum today and read the names on the walls, the wings, the galleries, the foundations. They spent a fortune on beauty, and the beauty outlived the fortune. The bank is a footnote now. The art fills the Uffizi. The Medici just did it first. Generosity or self-interest? Both. They never drew a line between the two. The Medici understood that beauty was legitimacy. Legitimacy was power, and power was what the bank existed to generate. They were merchants who thought like rulers, bankers who acted like patrons, people who understood that the most durable asset was never a gold deposit or a papal contract. It was the story people told about you. A family of wool merchants bought 3 popes and the Renaissance and never wore a crown, because they understood the one thing every empire on this channel understands: money buys power. But power has to be believed. The Medici didn't just keep the ledger, they turned it into a cathedral. 600 years later, we're still telling the story they paid for. This is Libromastro, History's Accounts.